So go ahead and subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Really helps us out. Really
Timmy,
helps us
Timmy,
grow the
Timmy, this
show.
is not the end. This is the beginning.
Memento coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevene. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. That is myself, and Tommy. Both of us have not seen Memento before. And we have a shaman with us here today, Brian Wishart from Movie Pod, a reclaimed cinema podcast. The films that are covered on his podcast are ones that have had a noticeable shift in reception since their initial release. These include cult films that have a diehard fandom that have rejected the critics. Brian, thank you for coming on here, guiding us through Memento as
Thank
we
you.
are christening our Christopher Nolan month here with with kind of where it started. I know The Following is technically his first, but I feel like this is the
This
the
is his
really
first good. This is his first good movie. So
Yeah. This is the
I hate
breakout movie.
following. I hate following so much.
Well, we were thinking of like covering, like we were talking like which like Christopher Nolan movies haven't you seen? And I was like, well, I haven't seen Memento and I haven't seen Following, and we're both like, we don't need to cover Following. No.
Memento is like pretty quintessential Nolan. Like it is like pretty much like all of his flaws as a director in this movie, all the strengths are in this movie. The only thing that's kind of missing that a lot of his other movies have is the full ensemble cast.
hmm
And for me, as someone who finds that Nolan's quippy comedic dialogue is mostly very bad, this movie does not have that too much of it. It's a lot more restrained. So I think that has a lot of his strengths. Movie. I like this movie. I don't love this movie, but it's I think I think it's a movie that's really fascinatingly structured. I think I enjoy more like, oh wow, like he really like actually told a story in a really different way. I think it's more interesting in that regard than it is a movie that I actually really enjoy watching too much.
Yeah, I think that like it didn't help that I knew the twist at the
Mhm.
beginning. Like I think this is just a pop culture osmosis thing that I knew. Like, spoiler if you're listening, but Guy Pearce killed his wife essentially.
Every single movie that was kind of like, this is stemming from the era of like 90s independent films that were just like often had a twist in them too. This comes out like, in the shadow of The Sixth Sense and such. And there's so many movies that are kind of Nolan knockoffs, things like Identity, where the twist almost always is that the guy actually just killed his wife.
Yeah. So wait, is that
Yeah.
I knew the reverse order stuff with this movie, and then like the the subjective versus the objective. Like that's not, and Nolan will go on to do this later in his career, probably most famously in Oppenheimer, like when he does the subjective and objective using color and black and white to kind of distinguish between the two timelines and what's going on. Um, I I didn't necessarily take it that way. I could be completely wrong here. That like I felt like that was what it was implying, but I don't know if I inherently trusted Joe Pantalone, Teddy. Like didn't necessarily feel like he was super trustworthy. Um, so like for me, like this movie ended up being about like the cycle that this man is causing by repressing what he's already done, which by killing the boyfriend at the end of the movie, right? The movie kind of, and he chooses to forget that and then kind of mark Teddy as the next assignment. But I never felt throughout the movie that I found him to be like trustworthy and that the information he was giving Leonard, Guy Pearce,
Well, that's what's
I
interesting
I
about
didn't
it.
I didn't I didn't find that, and I maybe I'm more of a Nolan fan than I'm not like some crazy diehard that thinks like he's a revolutionary, but I think he's a really interesting filmmaker that works within original ideas and original things and plays around with concepts about time and memory and uses film as a medium for that. And I think that's that's interesting, and the fact that he's been able to kinda concentrate into the mainstream when I don't necessarily know, like, I watch a movie like Memento, and I'm just like, it's kinda crazy that there's just, like, I wouldn't call them, like, I guess, the film bro, but I don't even know if that's the right thing, but people who really view him as, like, a deity within the cinema
Oh, yeah,
world, like,
yeah.
it's a very interesting, I think, like, The Dark Knight kinda, for good and for bad, kind of echoing the entire 2010s of the cinema landscape and kind of defining what every studio was trying to chase from that point on. Um, Really kind of cemented his legacy, and then you follow that up with Inception, which is huge at the time, which is a movie I have decided I'm going to rewatch this week at some point. I have not. I can't tell you the
Well,
last time I've watched it, but I need to
it
re-examine it.
it's the funny thing about Nolan, and it's a funny thing for me to say at the beginning of our Nolan month. I realized I don't think Nolan's one of my guys. I was looking through, and outside of his Batman movies, I'm never like rewatching any Christopher Nolan movie. For me personally, like I have only seen Insomnia once. I've only seen Inception in theaters. The only time I rewatched Prestige was when we covered on the podcast like 2 or 3 years ago. Um, and I don't know. It's one of those things that like I sit down and I think like, do I want to watch a Christopher Nolan movie? I'm like, most of the time, I'm like, sounds like a lot. Like, I don't know.
For
So
me, every time I watch a Christopher Nolan movie for the second time, I like it less.
yeah, I can
And
see that. Yeah.
that's across the board for every single one of his movies. I've never I think maybe Oppenheimer, when I rewatched that, I liked it about the same. I think Oppenheimer is my favorite movie by him because I think it's the one that actually has a lot of, human characters in it, which I think is something he always, kind of suffers from with, coming out with characters that feel human,
Mhm.
especially female characters. I have a huge, huge issue with how he writes women in all of his movies, especially this one too.
This is like a
And
frigid life scenario on Memento. Like,
Yeah, like it's like two birds with one stone with the same wife getting killed off for a dumb reason. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and
Well, so for me, like Oppenheimer is just different than anything he's kind of done, where it's that truly biographical. They had that source work to go off of. Like
that's a thick book too.
that it is, yeah. Um, and for me, like I didn't think The Dark Knight could be topped because I saw that in theaters when I was 15 years old, and it's just like
That would do it.
like that's
Mhm.
just the and it was like the most hyped movie I'd ever seen before. Like it was more hyped than Revenge of the Sith, and then you go and I couldn't get tickets for 2 weeks. I had to wait 2 weeks to go see this movie, and I was like fourth
I
row
don't know
from
how
the
it took you
front.
2 weeks because we lived in the same town and I saw it twice of an opening
Okay,
weekend.
you know
And
what? Some of
I
us,
bought tickets.
some of us didn't have an older brother, Tommy. Okay, I don't want to hear about it.
No, it wasn't even that.
But
Like,
I
I saw that movie 4 times in the theater. That would like, Dark Knight Mania was huge,
huge.
and, like, all the press too because, like, Heath Ledger died before the movie
Mhm.
came out too, and, like, the myth of the time is he died because of his craft, and he was on drugs for the joke to play the Joker and such, and it was a huge movie, and, like, then I watched, like, Michael Mann movies later on and realized, like, "Oh, this is just derivative of those movies," and, like, a little bit less, but that completely changed the landscape for movies, like, for superhero movies, like, to this day, and then he follows up with Inception, and, like, this like, the guy who, like, he takes, like, the money like, his original idea is something like Inception, which I think is a good movie. I like Inception overall, but again, it's, like, flat characters, not that like you're saying. I think his movies are really straightforward for the most part, and I think it's just a matter that they're always presented in a weird way. But what I
Mhm.
do like what Nolan as best is that he's able to take like kind of just like he's fascinated with story structure and the way he's able to kind of like fuck around with story structure a lot and make it seem a lot more twisty and satisfying when you kind of solve what the twist is.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and I mean, for me, I think Oppenheimer is the best movie I've seen of the 2020s. Like I think that granted I got to see it in IMAX 70 millimeter twice. Um,
That helps.
that helps, but like I took my dad like a month after its release when he came down to visit me. Um, because it's like the IMAX 70 millimeters like right next to the Grand Old Opry. And we we were gonna go tour it. We are like, let's go see this. We'll go. I'm like, Dad, you will love Oppenheimer. Let's go see this. And then he walked out of it and said it's the best movie he's seen in theaters since Return of the King, which is very high praise for him. So like Like, for me, that one is another movie I feel like I need to do another deep dive into, after a
Yeah,
couple of
I'm doing a
years I've been.
rewatch because my only watch of Oppenheimer was, during the Barbenheimer thing where, the girl I was dating at the time and I, saw, Barbie, and then we immediately saw Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer towards the end was just becoming like a blur. It was just like a haze where I was, like, filled up on popcorn at that point, just like, "What is going on?" Still love it,
Popcorn and
still love it,
slushy.
so
Which
yeah, exactly.
order? Which order did you do Barbenheimer?
We did Barbie at, like, 2 p.m., and then, Oppenheimer, I like to say, like, around, like, 6 or so.
Hmm. I
So,
think I did Oppenheimer first, then Barbie.
yeah, I think that's the way to go. I think it's the better
Hmm.
way.
So I
'Cause
I
then
did
you
I did
yeah,
Oppenheimer, and then I did Barbie a couple days later just because like,
you coward.
I had IMAX 70 millimeter tickets, Tommy. What would you like me to do? I also but, like, for me, it was just, like, went into, like, Barbenheimer being like, "I think Barbie's gonna be really interesting and, like, better than Oppenheimer," and then I saw both of them, and my takes were completely flipped. And I just think it was, like, for my memory of seeing it, I've seen it 4 times. I think it was, like, profound. I think it was a great examination of, like, an American character, and I think what Nolan can do really well is, and something I like, he can relatively remain objective in terms of, like, "Here's the events of it. I'm not gonna tell you what to think. I want you to think about what you want this to be." I think he's kind of done that. Like, I mean, the twisted tap at the end of Inception is, like, the definition of that, right? Like, did it land? Did it not? Is he still in the dream world? Did he
Well, he
actually
he
get
said in
home?
an interview, for Memento, this is like a Q&A he did with, Guillermo del Toro that's on the Blu-ray special features, and someone asked him about, like, what do you say, I know you don't wanna talk about your movies, but what do you think about, like, Blade Runner? Because you love that so much. Do you think it's a replicant? And he's like, "Well, Ridley Scott said that he thinks that Harrison Ford's a replicant, so who am I to go against the director?" So he's like, "That's why he doesn't say anything about what he thinks about, I don't know, Memento, did he kill a guy, or Inception, is it a dream or not?" 'Cause, like, it ruins the fun right there. I like that he keeps it a little bit open mystery to it because, it kinda sucks when, like, you have the director, like, weeks later be like, "So" it feels like almost like a Tarantino thing. "So here's what I think happened in this scene, and this is what happened. This is when Cliff Booth, he was thinking about Bruce Lee, and, he thought, like, it was just an imagination thing."
That might be your best impression, Tommy, the Tarantino.
I can
That's
break it
pretty
out more.
solid. Yeah, you should break out. Yeah, he
Yeah,
he finds himself in the news pretty often, but
yeah.
whole lot more of
So real quick on
Nolan.
Nolan, though, I guess Nolan takes because we're doing Nolan month. Brian, what's your temperature on, The Odyssey? Excited? Not excited?
I take it to see an IMAX 70 millimeter. I'm making the 2 hour drive to see it.
Hell
I
yeah.
am more. I honestly waited until like the critics' first responses came out to see if it was like if people were saying it was mediocre, I would not rush out to see it. People say like it's interesting, and like I've always been more curious about the Aussie more than excited about it. I'm still don't think I'm that excited to see it per se. Um, I'm overall just like I think Nolan makes okay movies. I like truly Oppenheimer's the one I think is great. I think The Dark Knight's good. I like Memento enough. I like Inception enough. I like and I'm trying to think of the other ones but like Interstellar, which is the one that everyone loves. I fucking despise that movie so
Really?
much.
I've
I
Wow.
I've found my friends who, like, don't watch a ton of movies, but, like, watch some movies, like, maybe they'll watch, like, 3 a month. They're like, "Interstellar's the greatest thing I've ever seen," and I'm like, "That's because you haven't seen 2001: A Space Odyssey." Like, of course you think it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. Um, I have liked Interstellar. I think it's interesting stuff, like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you Interstellar's some masterpiece that's just, but I think it's a really good movie. I think they're all entertaining, and they tend to have, like, core emotional stuff, like, very simple core emotional stuff that you can get attached to, even though I do think his biggest weakness as a writer is character. Like, I think a lot of
Especially
them
women.
just.
and
Eh,
that's what turns me off about something like a Interstellar following and this, I think all have really, really atrociously bad female characters and stuff on the page. And like for me, it comes just movies in general. Like you can have a director that has like a lot of like, you know, misogynistic worlds and stuff like that. But like they at least kind of write women to be multifaceted, multidimensional. And for whatever reason, Christopher Nolan cannot do that. The closest he's come with is with Kitty Oppenheimer, Emily Blunt's character there, but that's something that's real, so you can kind of like at least base it off of that. And like I'll give him his flowers. He wrote, a good female character once in his career, but like all of his flaws in the movie, he's just like I don't think he's that interested in the human experience at all because he's just not willing to treat half the planet as the same as the other half.
So I don't know enough about Christopher Nolan's background in life.
I don't
Like
think
I
he's a
don't
sexist person in real
no,
life.
I don't either. He's like he's seems like a pretty chill dude. Like apparently he's always at the city boardwalk in LA, like the AMC theater there. Like people just run into him there. Like he's just always going out watching movies with the people. He doesn't do emails. He doesn't have a smartphone. Like he does not know that our podcast exists. Like he's like I don't think his like worldview is necessarily that. I think it's interesting that like the dead wife slash dead girlfriend trope really comes around over and over and over again, like consistently throughout his work. Like even in Oppenheimer, it's there with Florence Pugh's character. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's there over and over again. I, it seems like as a writer, he's not able to get over the fact that his greatest fear in life is losing his wife. Like that is very clearly to me like what I think because it's consistent in all of his stuff and he writes all of his stuff. It's just there consistently and he just hasn't been able like so like the female characters are not it's not his strength but I don't think it comes from like a hatred of women. I think he just has like a great fear of like losing the woman that he loves and he just shoves it into everything and like I don't know how else to not see that way when it's in almost everything he's ever done. I
I feel like it's such a flaw though because like in that case he's only treating women as in the relationship with men. It's which is like a big problem with this movie how women are, and it's a big problem. I think it's a massive problem in Interstellar. I think that's the biggest problem at all is because like the funniest part about that movie by far is that he has two kids, but he only cares about the daughter. He doesn't give a flying fuck about the son. And it's so
Well,
funny that
Well, that's
like
because it's Casey Affleck. I mean,
yeah,
and
exactly.
Timothée
Yeah,
Chalamet, but like it's like like okay, so like you're a father being sad about his daughter, a daughter being sad about her father. Like he gets that he wants to focus on that, but like why don't you like limit it down? Can I not just be able to be sad about being a son there? Like it's just like I feel like if he were to just like take one of his male characters and you know I'm naming this character Jimmy, and then just suddenly change Jimmy's name to Samantha and make it the exact same movie. You could just do something as simple as that, and I think that a lot of issues with Nolan would go away. I think that's just like he's bringing himself into complete holes with it, and I'm curious to see what the Odyssey is going to be like with this. Like, see if he kind of gets around with it because I think he was going the right direction with Oppenheimer, and I'm really curious to see what he does going
I
forward
think
with
he's
it.
also he this is like the biggest like female side of cast that I can like recall from like one of his movies that in terms of like the size of them. So there's just going to be like more options of it. I mean, I read snippets of the Odyssey in high school. It's something I was debating today at work, being like, do I just run to a bookstore and pick up a copy of the Odyssey and just try to like speed run through it just to kind of like get my bearings on it? Because like obviously the hits of the story, but like the Odyssey itself, I don't
we've all
fully
seen
know.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I think
That's
it's
like literally my only viewpoint of the Odyssey is, "Oh brother, where art thou?"
yeah. So I'd I don't like for me he always seems to be able to attract like top end female talent as well.
Mhm.
So like I don't know if the actresses in this space like seem to share the opinion that some people online seem to share with it. Because he's like there's that clip of Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence where Jennifer Lawrence is like, yeah, I have one director I'd drop anything at a hat to go work for, and Pattinson's like, who? He's like, Christopher Nolan, but he's never called. He's like, ah, yeah, he's pretty good. Just like there clearly is something within the industry and the people working that they do attract themselves to these like it's not like he's casting no name women and just giving bad performances because I would say the performances are good with what's given.
It's the
He's
Usually,
good.
script
usually.
itself,
He's good. He's good at directing the performances for sure. And like I think people
unless you're
like working
Marion
with
Cotillard.
Nolan. Yeah, She's a
I need to rewatch. Inception. That's
yeah.
I was talking
That
more about
movie
Dark Knight
has
I
Rises.
issues.
oh yeah,
When she dies at the end, she's like,
Anne Hathaway in that movie though, pretty good, pretty pretty good. Okay, quick half-star letterbox reviews because we just had our little Nolan try. We had to get through it here. Um, okay, this one is from Tillis, half-star review on February 21st, 2024. I liked it, but my boyfriend said it was bad, so it's bad. I feel like that kind of, and it's tagged I heart my boyfriend. So I feel like we're kind of rolling in line with Christopher Nolan stuff here, like right off the bat.
wow.
Pretty good here. I'm trying to flick around. Spellbound 19 half-star review on March 3rd, 2021. I wonder how many pictures he took of his penis. These are good questions that the movie does not answer.
You
Okay.
gotta remember. You
I'm gonna
gotta
have to
remember it.
CinemaSins ding the movie here like immediately.
He looks down. He's like, "Oh yes, I do have a dick. Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Good.
Okay,
Now I
good,
remember."
good, good.
It's like shave
Uh,
your leg, shave your penis.
Every day, just shaves his pubes.
okay, we have a recent one here from Emily. March 7th, 2026. I've actually never been so angered by a film, and I blame a level film entirely. This film is not experimental. It is just the stupid order of the scenes and them being in reverse. It's fucking stupid. There's also so many plot holes. OMG. If he put the guy's car license plate on his arm, but then killed him, he's just going to keep finding the dead guy's car. I hate it.
That's a great point. I never thought of that before.
She got a
Um,
point.
Darren on July 11th, 2025 said, okay, don't mind the rating. I didn't understand a single fuck of the movie. Like literally nothing. It's hard for me to rate a movie if I totally didn't understand it. So the movie doesn't suck. I just suck. And you know what, Darren? Like that's maybe
It's off.
that's the greatest review we've ever had on this show here.
Well, we all need mirrors to remind ourselves who we are.
Yes, and do I have and then Isel on January 30th, 2024. Literal shit. I'm sure this has made many absolute Neanderthals feel great about themselves for quote unquote getting it. Uh, and yeah, those are our half-star letterbox reviews for today. That is brought to you by Old Glory. OldGlory.com is a website full of different movie merchandise, sports merchandise. Get your Knicks merchandise, get your Jurassic Park, your Star Wars, everything there. They have tens of thousands of different items. And if you use promo code CNET, that's SCENEIT, you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code CNET at oldglory.com. All right, guys. Any movies you guys watched lately that you feel inspired to discuss?
All right, I'll start. I bought a Blu-ray for a random '80s movie that has been forgotten to time,
That's
but
classic Brian.
rocks. Yeah, classic me. The archive, what's it called? Vinegar Syndrome stores right near me, so I go there a lot. And I found a Blu-ray copy of an Australian 1981 movie called Road Games. Forgotten Jamie Lee Curtis movie that rocks. It's Stacy Keach, who you might know from Escape from LA and a bunch of other random movies. He is a long road truck driver in Australia, and he keeps on seeing in the middle of his long road trip a serial killer, just like ominous things, like a guy like digging holes in the middle of the highway and stuff like that, and other things over and over again. And he keeps on picking up other random hitchhikers and having conversations with them. It's a real like great one man performance by Stacey Keach because he's just like essentially most of the film just talking to like his dog about like what's going on. And at one point he picks up Jamie Lee Curtis, who is like right in the prime of like her career. This is like right around the time of Halloween 2, Terror Train when she was in her Scream Queen era. And all mostly shit movies, but fun movies. The Road Games, I think, is just great because it's directed by this guy, Richard Franklin, who directed Psycho 2. He is a Hitchcock scholar. He like has studied every single frame of Hitchcock ever. And to the point that he actually like used to like struck up a friendship with Hitchcock like before Hitchcock died. So this guy like knows his suspense. There's one great scene where Jamie Lee Curtis and Stacy Keach are in a like rest stop and they think they find the killer. And Stacey Keach thinks sees the killer like taking a shit, and the suspense there is just like masterclass. You can see this guy clearly knows his Hitchcock. It's really fun. So check it out. It's called Road Games. Really underrated '80s movie. It's Tarantino's favorite Australian movie. He's like, listen, when you have the car and you have the truck, it's amazing. So go see it.
Looks like it's on
All right.
Tubi in Canada, so I'm definitely gonna watch it.
It's a Tubi
Nice.
classic, I imagine.
That seems like a Tubi staple, just always on the rotation. Brian, anything you've watched lately?
Well, I spent a lot of time watching, I rewatched all the Toy Stories because the new movie came out. I rewatched all the
Mhm.
Jackass movies because I was doing a podcast on Jackass for my show. And, but one movie I finally watched for the first time, and I was completely blown away by it. I was not expecting to love this movie so much was, James Wan's *Malignant*.
Mm.
Oh, that movie's a blast.
That movie's so much fun. Holy shit. I was
Yeah.
not expecting like, I've liked, a couple of James Wan movies totally fine. Like, I thought, like I like Saw, but, like, I thought The Conjuring was okay. And, like, *Malignant*, I went in like, "Okay, this is kinda, like, could be, like, a fun little horror." I expect it to be a scary movie, or at least, like, try to be a good horror movie, but it just goes completely off the walls in so many ways,
Oh, yeah.
in a complete indescribable ways, and each twist is like, a twist happens at the 40-minute mark that I was like, "Oh my god, this is a fantastic premise for the rest of the movie." And there's like 3 more twists that are even more crazy, that are so funny, and, like, it's not really a movie about building horror tension a lot, but it's just a wild, wild ride. It almost feels like Evil Dead in its creativity and how it wants
Oh,
to, like,
yeah.
present, like, uh, the whatever horror entity it is and how they do the action scenes with it. It gets and, like, I mean true action scenes in this movie. It is so creative at points. It looks great. I was on my couch watching it alone, and I was just cackling with laughter watching *Malignant*, and I cannot wait to watch it again and, like, tell everyone who's not seen that movie to watch *Malignant* because it came out during COVID, right? So, like, it's kind of one of those movies that a lot of people kind of missed, and, like, it's been hard to watch in Canada for streaming, licensing reasons for some reason, but it is a movie that completely blew me away. I love *Malignant* so much.
That movie rocks. It was a movie that I remember, I watched, like, at work one day, like, on my tablet, in my office, and I was, like, thinking, like, halfway through, like, "This is kind of like a boring, generic horror movie," and then there's one certain scene, I'm not gonna spoil it for Timmy, who hasn't seen it. When that scene happened, I was like, "I'm on board. This movie's amazing. Hell yeah, let's go. This is fucking fantastic."
It's
Tommy, is
in
that the movie you and a mutual friend of ours, watched at your old place, and he freaked out because he couldn't play Super Smash Brothers?
Well, that was many movies of his. No, he got freaked out because he thought it was a dumb movie, and then when the twist happened, he thought it was even dumber, and I kept on, like, teasing him over and over and over again, and he freaked out at one of our friends. So
It was *Malignant* though, right?
yeah, it was
I'm like,
Malignant, it was
okay, I
Malignant,
was like, I'm
and
pretty sure I'm remembering this
we call
correctly.
when he gets angry, we call him, we call it him going malignant. 'Cause he literally started, like, punching one of our friends. I was like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Gonna play Smash Bros?
Yeah, yeah, whole thing. The
He's
whole thing with him.
he's really good at Smash Bros though. I'll give him that.
To be fair.
No, that's an awesome one. I watched a couple of movies over 4th of July weekend. I know we have a Canadian here joining us here, but I got National Treasure in, I got Jaws in, I got a couple of the staples in. But on Sunday, I got to watch a true American classic for its 85th anniversary. Citizen Kane was re-released in theaters. I had not watched that movie since high school. So my understanding of film, my appreciation of the medium itself has completely changed. And watching it, it's like, okay, I get it now. Like, I wouldn't sit here and say like this is my favorite movie. Like, I just want to watch Citizen Kane over and over and over again. But like, it's a beautiful portrait of a man like incapable of love, wanting to be loved and getting it from others, and just like this vicious cycle that just keeps wearing him down over and over again. And then the very famous ending, which ties right into the beginning, because I know Tommy hasn't seen it. Potential future podcast episode here.
I
Brian,
You
might be seeing
haven't
it
seen
tomorrow.
Citizen Kane?
I've seen *Malignant* twice, but I haven't seen *Citizen
My
Kane*. No,
god, no, Citizen Kane is so much fun. Like, it's like
Tommy, Tommy's seen
well, I was
Leprechaun 3 more times than he would ever watch
to be fair,
Citizen
Leprechaun
Kane.
3 is a
actually
fun movie.
actually, no, I've never seen *Leprechaun 3*, but I've seen *Leprechaun 1*. Um, but
Leprechaun 3 is,
no,
like, probably the best one. I think it's the one in Vegas. I think that's the one that's
that's
most fun.
that's the one where, like, I've seen the kill count, I think, or whatever, where, like, there's one where, like, a girl, like, wants to be, like, bustier, and then, like, she gets so fucking busty that she explodes or something like that. Cinema,
that is
pure pure
such
cinema.
a Tommy Tavernet movie. My gosh, I can't even
Um,
deny it.
so Citizen Kane's playing by me tomorrow, and I'm probably gonna go see it.
Do it.
So
Then maybe we
yeah,
record a Citizen Kane episode and just like hold it in the box, like hold it in the pocket and just record it and then
that's
just
like our
release it.
time capsule episode, like our
Yeah,
final
just
episode ever. Like
no,
when we're in
I
our
just think
70s, and we're
I
like,
just
here's back from back in time. You know, when time we saw Citizen Kane 30
no,
years
just
ago.
like sometimes weeks don't work out where it's just like it's really hard to schedule a recording and we just have one in the bag and we just like drop Citizen, like it's a pretty good one to just drop on people casually. They're like, I kind of want to listen to that. Like I've heard of, everybody's heard of Citizen Kane at the very least. Like people have
Was the
not seen
Kane
it.
from Citizen Kane in it?
There
Mhm.
is a Kane in that movie.
Okay,
There is
that's
one.
the Simpsons.
There's
That's the
multiple.
Simpsons joke. I know.
I know
Technically,
the Simpsons
there's
joke, but like there is a Kane in the one movie where it's like the big birthday song and dance number.
yes. Well,
But
they
or office song and dance number. I
well, y-
saw Monsters and Minions earlier today, which is
ooh,
the best
how
of
was it?
all those movies, because it's actually full of references like old Hollywood rather than just like 80s needle drops. And the best laugh, the hardest I heard all the kids in my theater laugh was during the Citizen Kane parody within Minions and Monsters.
See,
That's amazing.
that's awesome though because now kids will be like where, like if there's anybody in the audience being like where was this from, like what are they, because like I've heard this movie is like a very much a love letter to cinema itself, so like
Mhm.
it's like the
It's
reference,
amazing.
the referential nature of it is a little bit more like on the cheek than like I saw Zootopia 2 and then there's the scene with the mayor that's doing Silence of the Lambs. Like I don't feel like that one's super on the nose where kids are going to be like what's that from? But like in this one they might just, from what I've heard it might be a little bit more. Like this one has piqued my curiosity. I'm just a little bit of like I don't know if I want to be a grown man by myself. I just don't
Well, I
know if
did
I have
that.
it in me.
Yeah, who gives a
I
shit?
might have to I might have to follow in Brian's footsteps here and
You
be
see
able
like an
to
8 p.m. screening, and you're not going to have a lot of kids. You'll be fine.
They were
That's-
like there was like a giveaway at my local Imagine Cinemas theater. It was like you can win a T-shirt and a water bottle. Like it was probably a kid shirt and a water bottle. I'll give to my friends' kids and such like that. So like there's a pen and paper over there. So it's like I go over this little booth there. There's like 5 little kids in front of me and like 5 little kids behind me, and I'm waiting to get a pen. Now, like whatever, fucking, I'm if I win this, I'm giving my friends' kids. So it's not just for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Right? I'm not just gonna be some pervert, just like wearing like a kid's small
Just
minion
sticking out
shirt.
like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
just a little crop top, little monsters and minions crop top.
Yeah, you're dressed up like a minion. You have the goggles on and everything.
Yeah, no, I'm
Paint yourself
so
yellow.
did you like Monsters and Minions? Like would you recommend people see it?
Um, yeah, I say it's like maybe don't rush out and see it because like it has a lot of, like the first half's a lot of kind of like where slapstick stuff then kind of falls in the same plot problem all of Minions movies have, where like gets kind of like too plot heavy with like non Minions characters in the back half. But as a Trey Parker doing a fun villain voice, who's basically doing his Cartman voice the whole time.
That's awesome.
And I truly did like the old Hollywood homages because it felt like fresh because like so many movies today they're just referencing the 1980s, like just all the same references over and over. And those Despicable Me Minions movies constant reference the 1980s, needle drops and everything like that. It's kind of felt like I was watching Looney Tunes again, where Looney Tunes is kind of referencing stuff from the past, stuff that like the old slapstick from like the 1920s and stuff like that, which I thought was like
A lot of
Or
vaudeville
like
stuff.
Peter
So much
Lorre.
fun.
I wouldn't know who Peter Lorre was if it wasn't for Looney Tunes.
yeah, and like I felt like it just felt refreshing, and it's still an Illumination movie, so it's all its kind of typical flaws there, except it doesn't have bad needle drops, but it's still a movie for little kids. So like I thought it was good. I gave it 3 stars in Letterboxd, which is more than giving any of the movies in this franchise there. But like
That's
don't
like a prime little kid animated Illumination movie because like they're very catered into that like 3 to 8 market, like
Yeah.
they're really nestled in there.
Yeah.
like I think it's the
Ver-
best movie Illumination's ever done, but like it's still an Illumination movie.
Well, it's still,
I
yeah,
would-
at the end of the day.
I would say that's a bold take, but I've only seen like 2 Illumination movies, and one of
I've
them's
seen,
the
like-
first Super Mario movie, and I'm like, that sounds about right. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's that
Yeah.
that tracks. But we must keep moving onward and forward with Memento.
I have this condition. It's my memory.
Richard Roper of Ebert and Roper in the Movies calls Memento easily the best film so far this year. See it once and you gotta see it again.
My wife deserves vengeance.
But even if you get revenge, you're not going to remember it.
Ingenious, you'll want to stay in the theater and see it again. The one entertainment experience this year worth repeating.
I've told you this before, haven't I?
Memento, rated R.
Remember Richard Roper was relevant? What a lucky break that guy got.
I saw follow a guy on Twitter. His takes are not very good.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to
It's
follow
not-
on Twitter, but
It's
yeah.
not as bad as Armand White, but it's
No.
it's up there.
Yeah, that guy's just
Mem-
contrarian.
Memento is a 2000 American neo-noir psychological thriller film written and directed by Christopher Nolan, based on the short story Memento Man by his brother Jonathan Nolan, which was published in March 2001. The film stars Guy Pearce, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Joe Pantoliano, follows Leonard Shelby Pierce, a man who has anterograde amnesia, resulting in the inability to form new long-term memories, who uses an elaborate system of photographs, handwritten notes, and tattoos sprawled across his body in an attempt to uncover the perpetrator who killed his wife and caused him to sustain the condition. The film's non-linear narrative is presented as two sequences of scenes interspersed during the film, a series of black and white that is shown chronologically, and a series of color sequences shown in reverse order. The two sequences meet at the end of the film. I wanted to include that paragraph in case you are listening to this podcast. You have not seen Memento. You have never seen Christopher Nolan on that chalkboard drawing that horseshoe, describing the timeline and narrative of this movie. For me, on my initial viewing of this, I had to really pee watching this movie. And I was like, I think I'm really close to the end, right? But I'm like, it was just like, I gotta pee. I'm just gonna hit the pause button. I was at the 37-minute mark. So
Yeah.
I did the
Yeah.
exact same thing.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I was just
the pacing of this just felt like kind of a little brutal at points where like I thought that I was almost done with the movie and it was like my girlfriend and I paused it and I was like, fuck, there's an hour left in this. Yeah, I was like, Jesus.
It's around the time that he kills the boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
No, for me, it was like right after him and Carrie-Anne Moss hooked up. Like I was like, okay, we gotta like, where does this keep going? And I have really come to recognize, like for me, like pacing is my big thing. Like if I sat in theaters and I watched Citizen Kane, I did not need to look at my watch one single time because I was just like,
That movie is really motors though. That's a very wildly entertaining movie. And people think of Citizen Kane because like it's an old black and white movie. People hear it as one of the best of all time, whatever. People think it's gonna be a boring movie, but that's far from a boring movie.
no, it's wildly entertaining. And then there's obviously like it was one of the first non-linear Hollywood movies, whatever, like all that influential stuff. But then when you watch it now, you're just like, this is really good. Like this is great. But watching this, I don't want to say I was bored. Like I was intrigued the whole time. I just felt like it just kept going. It suffers that what a lot of movies suffer through, at least for me, which is that second act syndrome. And I know this doesn't follow your typical 3-act structure, but it is a 3-act structure just chopped up differently. And there's just that long period of the second act where I was just like, oh, like, okay, are we getting there? Like,
yeah.
Did Joe Pantalone do it or not? Because like he died at the beginning. My brain goes, okay, he probably didn't do it.
There's a certain point where like I ran out of patience almost because like I said at the beginning, like I knew the twist that like you can debate whether or not he actually Joe Pantalone was saying the truth. But I know that it was like, oh, Guy Pearce killed the wife, and I was like, all right, let's just get to the point where we see Guy Pearce killing the wife. Like, come on, or whatever. Like, let's get to it. So yeah, something with the pacing because it's just like there's some points where I was like, all right, like okay, the nonlinear thing worked somewhat for me. I think it took me a minute to like click with it. I mean, I knew that what it was nonlinear, but I was like, all right, like after a while, it took me a while, like with some scenes where it just started at the beginning and then all of a sudden like cut to another thing. I was like, what? What's going on here?
There's this one cut of the movie that's on the DVD of it. It's not on the Blu-ray. I looked up for it and didn't. So first off, the DVD, it had a very one of those people thought it was so cool when it came out back when in like 2000 or like that. But this DVD menu was like a word association thing to access the movie. So it gave you like 6 columns of like 9 words. You had to find the word watch within that to find out where to watch the movie. And they had to do like certain codes and stuff to access special features, which is
God.
so like I had to find a guide on GameFAQs.com on how to access, the movie.
I can just
And-
imagine how annoying that is because it sounds cool, but then like if you're like
Yeah.
high at the end of the night and you're like just want to throw a Memento and you're like shit, like what war game shit do I have to do to turn this fucking movie on?
But with that, because like when I first watched Memento, it was like probably around 2005 when Batman Begins came out. Because I watched Batman Begins, like, oh, that was such a cool movie. And then like I have some friends that had, but he has a movie called Memento. It's a big mind fuck. You got to watch that. So I watched it at a friend's place and like blew my mind. I was like a 14-year-old, and
Yeah.
but like the version of Memento I watched on DVD had this it has this feature where it actually arranges the whole movie chronologically.
And did you watch it that way? Back
I
in the
watched
day?
it that way afterwards, and I feel like that was a good way to kind of get me to like understand the narrative better, because like because like what I find fascinating with Memento, I do think it's effective with it, is that like it does have a lot of revelations as this guy's, because like the narrative where it's going backwards is like one day, right? So like you get to kind of see the revelations in the day pop up as like the story goes backwards, which is like a fascinating little bit of writing, because like you have to like figure out a way to like have interesting revelations happen near the beginning of your storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that stuff to be really interesting. I find all the stuff with like the black and white segment, the quote unquote subjective segment, where he's talking about being an insurance adjuster, to be very, very boring.
Oh,
I wrote like immediately like the black and white film segments like feel like film school bullshit.
Yeah,
In a way. Where
I get what he's going for, and that needs that segment for the movie to work. It's just so fun with the big reveal at the end of the movie, or like where it turns out that like, oh, like he actually killed his own wife. He injected. She was just like, oh, I don't believe you have this retrograde amnesia or whatever. So I'm going to let you inject your insulin into me. So I'm going to kill myself for you to prove your points, to prove your illness there, because I'm a woman with zero agency at all. And it's just, I find it just so fucking funny that like in Guy Pearce's like wild imagination and stuff like that, he imagines himself as Stephen Tobolowsky.
Oh, I do have to say, when I threw in the credits, I'm on a Stephen Tobolowsky run this year on Letterboxd. He's my most watched actor, and I saw that. I was like,
dude, the podcast,
hell yeah,
the podcast has been on a Stephen Tobolowsky run. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because we did Thelma and Louise. We did what other movies have we done of his?
He was in what's the Insider?
Yeah, he's in the Insider.
Insider's so good.
Insider rocked. Yeah,
Insider
that's
was
part of
awesome.
Michael Mann month. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, let's go. There's fucking right there, Stephen Tobolowsky. And he's like the proxy Guy Pearce. I was like, what?
Yeah. And like, you can see why they did, because it's like a big fake up, because they look nothing alike. But like, and Tobo does a good job in the role. But like all that stuff, because like I haven't seen this movie in like 15 years. I turned on last night, and then it gets to the black and white segment, and it's like, oh right, I remember the reveal of this movie, where it's like, don't worry, this dead wife is actually Guy Pearce's dead wife, and she was willing to kill herself to like prove a marital argument, because she has no interiority herself. And like
What do you mean by that?
I mean, like, okay, so like if you as a woman was like, my husband might be faking this disease, this condition here, and there's got to be better ways to prove that than to like make him do the insulin injections. But also, if he's the one, if he knows himself that like, I have this condition and I love you, my wife, I should not be giving these insulin injections. But the way the movie does it is like, like, oh, I have to trust my husband to do this, because I cannot do this myself, because like I'm the woman, I'm the wife here. So
yeah.
she has to be the one that has to be like, I'm willing to die to prove that, to like prove a point with my husband there. And the dead wife thing with this annoys me so much, because like I feel like it should have been something that's actually like a total accident. rather than the wife trying to prove a point. Because the wife, in her perspective, is like, haha, I showed you, husband. Now I'm dead.
And he's never gonna remember. He's gonna like have a weird memory of it or whatever of going on.
Yeah. And
I
like,
know,
I think
because it feels like a
So
stupid way to like kill yourself, essentially, where it's just
a
like
really dumb way to kill yourself.
I guess
yeah.
this is a way to. Um, I don't necessarily know that he killed his wife because I don't trust Teddy. Like I do not trust that character as far as I can throw him. I don't even know if he's a police officer. Like there's the one scene where he like gives him a badge and he just looks at this guy with retrograde anemia, looks at it and is like, yeah, that checks out. I'm like, I don't like he is not trustworthy
I
throughout
don't trust that
the
he's not bald in this movie either.
that's tough.
It's a hairpiece of
But
doing some work.
the scene where he kind of like reveals it all, where it's like he's been hiring him as an assassin through all these things here and there. Like it truly feels like when you have that one really annoying fucking coworker, you've had to explain how to do something a million times.
He just shows up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also don't think I think that
I don't necessarily think he killed his wife. I think like the twist of the movie is the first guy he killed, the uh, Carrie Ann Moss's boyfriend, the other Joe
Canadian
G.
legend Callum Keith Rene.
Yes. And like killed him and then was just like, no, that can't be the guy. And then burns the memory. Like for me, the twist of the movie was like, this guy is in this cycle and he's just kind of become a serial killer now and will continue doing this as long as he is able to. Like, under no circumstance did I think that there was any actual like law involvement involved, like law enforcement involved in this movie, like in terms of like Joe Pantalone. Like, I thought he was a drug. Like, I genuinely thought he was somehow involved in this. Where he's just like, yeah, I'm undercover. Like, don't worry about it.
Well, there's a part of it that, like, the whole entire like crux of like Joe Pantoliano is that like at the end of the day, he really just wants to get the car so he can get the money. And like he's really worried about the like was it $20,000 or something like
200.
that? Yeah, like huge amount of money that's in the car, and he's like trying to think of ways to get it and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
just
like
fighting. Yeah,
I didn't think that he was necessarily like involved with that, and I feel like I don't know how him and Guy Pearce got connected other than like Joe Pantalone just increasingly telling us like, oh, we were involved in the investigation of your wife's murder, and then tells him that he made up the whole Steven story to quell in his mind the fact that like he killed his wife. But like I don't know if I took that on face value. I feel like it's a bit of a Nolan thing to do, but like Brian, you've seen this 4 or 5 times. You probably read more about this movie. Like, has there been any like discussion about like
There's
what it
some
is definitively, or is it more of this open ended question?
so having grown up in like being a teenager in the 2000s and having been all in discussions with Christopher Nolan things, I feel it's the exact same thing as the ending of Inception when it comes to being open ended, in which I've seen so many diagrams like, oh, what the plot really means, what this actually means here, and the twisty things, this movie. But I also think just like the ending of Inception, I don't think it's ambiguous. I think there's an obvious ending to it, and I think that Nolan movies as a whole, like they actually make sense and face value, and they're pretty much always like the ending is what it tells you it is. I don't think.
So
yeah.
I don't necessarily think I fully agree with that because like I don't. He does the twists in this. He does it in the Prestige.
Inception, I think is pretty obvious. Like,
And
guys, like,
Inception, he does it, but like the rest of his stuff are pretty clean cut. But I think I've heard Nolan speak, and he talks a lot about like emoting feelings and leaving. And we even discussed before about how like he doesn't comment on his own movies because he doesn't like he wants you to think what you want to think, right?
But
Like
here we have a movie where like this is a movie that he made his big break with. This is like a giant puzzle box of a movie. Like he's not going to want to explain it more than he can. And I think the fact that the movie makes as much sense as it does is a complete success on his part.
mhm.
I've seen so much ink spilled online about how much like he's like, has he done it? Has he not done it? And I never once in my life, every time I watched this movie, thought that like Joe Pantoliano was about lying at the very end of the movie there, but how I truly believe that like, you know, Guy Pearce killed his wife, and he's been wrapped up in killing his guys to help cover Joe Pantoliano's tracks and everything. Because you get Carrie Ann Moss as a character who basically meets him one day, realizes like, hey, here's a useful idiot that I can use to kill my partner and get away with it. And I think that the Carrie Ann Moss stuff kind of just tells you like this is what Joe Pantoliano has been doing for years with this one guy. What Carrie Ann Moss has done in just one day.
Well, it's the interesting thing about the movie that you don't know how long this has been going on for
Mhm.
Guy Pearce. I mean, it could be like recent, it could be years, could be months, and I would not be shocked if Joe Pantoliano was just like saying like that guy's the guy you should kill, like that one
Mhm.
right there,
Mhm.
over
Yeah,
and over
like
and over again.
under no circumstance did I think he was trustworthy, and like Guy Pearce himself, like as the narrator, is not a trustworthy narrator. Like
Mhm.
it's kind of
Whatsoever.
whatsoever. So for me, it's more of those like open-ended question, which I think Nolan can tend to do well. Like maybe if it's not on the most like introspective level or like as clever as some people might think it might be, but like I'm not
He'll
fully convinced he killed his wife. Like for me that was not like when I watched that part come, that felt like Joe Pantalone, like this guy who's been clearly manipulating him the entire movie, just saying something based off of the limited information he knows about Guy Pearce and just being like, no, you've told yourself that story to forget that you killed your wife. I know, to me, I didn't take it on face value, but like I maybe need to watch it again.
It could also be like the thing of like, everyone knows that like wherever they're going to tell him, like he's not going to remember. I think the best example of that is the Carrie Ann Moss scene where like
Mhm.
she just calls him like fucking so many names and just like freaks out at him, calls him like fucking like an idiot and like, oh, like you fucker. It's like, you're not going to remember anything I fucking say. We're going to be friends after this. Go
I
fuck
could call you,
yourself.
Mhm.
I could call your wife a whore, and you can.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
And she
I
uses that so effectively because like that's why he punches her in the face, and then like she's able to use like, hey, this is my boyfriend did this to me, so you gotta go kill him now.
Oh yeah. That's so,
But
so fucking like
it's a
scummy.
really really cool bit. But also my
Yeah.
favorite along those lines too. I love that part where at the bar there where it's like, all right, so everyone spits into this cup as just like it's just a bar party game there, and then she's used it to kind of prove that like, oh, this guy has amnesia because like 5 minutes later he's willing to drink from that same cup. Like
also he's showing up in her boyfriend's car and clothes. Like he's showing up in there, and she's obviously thinking like, well, this guy did something to him, and the fact that he just cannot like fully remember, like there's clearly like an empathy. Like I actually like Carrie Ann Moss's character, Natalie, in this. And
it's a fascinating take on the femme fatale. I think like as much as I hate the wife characters in Nolan movies, I think this is one of the better Nolan women. But she also
She's
doesn't really
not a
have
dead wife.
She's not a dead wife, which is nice, but she also doesn't really have
Yep.
like that much to do. But I think that she does it effectively, and I think like honestly the biggest trick of this movie is how well it's edited together.
yeah,
And I really like how this movie like kind of like the humor's not in the dialogue. The humor's not in the dialogue. The humor's in how it's like kind of pieced together. Where like seeing where like he goes in, uses he has the bottle of scotch as like a weapon, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna wait in the washroom for this guy to come and attack me. And then like it cuts like you see the scene before where he wakes up is like, am I drunk? Like why is this bottle of whiskey with me? Like I love those little bits there so much. And I think the funniest part of the movie by far is when he's
running.
in the chase. He's like,
Yes.
all right,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
am I after this guy? Wait, he's after me.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, the nonlinear thing like really works within like making you right in the headset of Guy Pearce, where like it's kind of hard to think of like how to get yourself in the headspace of this. And it's a weird thing of the mid 2000s that there's like about 3 or 4 movies that had retrograde amnesia as a plot point between this, Finding Nemo, and 50 First Dates. Which 50 First Dates is 50 First Dates is a horror movie. I mean, we'd say, imagine you're Drew Barrymore in that movie. Every day you wake up and like you're married to Adam Sandler and you don't know what your life is.
Yeah. Not even worse, he's trying to court you.
Well, even worse, like the part when she's a kid. She's a kid in that movie. And it's like, you can imagine you wake up and you don't remember you're pregnant. And you're like, what?
Yeah,
That's really a body horror.
Mhm.
We
Oh,
don't talk
God,
about
yeah.
how 50 First Dates is a body horror movie when you get down to it.
At its core, at its core.
That's
Really.
core. That's core. But yeah, no. This movie I think like does it the best of the three. Even though Finding Nemo does it for gags, and 51st Dates does it for gags essentially too. This like just as a direction choice, as a narrative choice, just makes it so like you're not sure when you get in the middle of the scene why Guy Pearce does this or like who Carrie Ann Moss is. And when we're introduced to Carrie Ann Moss, it's the first time essentially Guy Pearce has met her when he's like, "You remember who I am, do you?" And we also as an audience are like, "Yeah, we don't know who she is."
Hmm. And it's like the sixth time they've met that same day. Like it's like, yeah, I think that this is just a really well like structured movie. And have you ever seen those charts online of people like it's a lot of film bros trying to be like, oh, like I figured out Memento, so I've actually created this diagram to show like this plot structure. And it's even
Of
more
course.
confusing than just watching the movie itself. It's like you made this infographic of the order of it, but like, it snakes like this and Ouroboros back together and stuff, or like, you know, it's like a line chart with like all the scenes listed in order and such. And like,
This
it's
movie's
not,
not Primer.
yeah, it's not that difficult of a movie to figure out. It's just disorienting and on purpose, right? Because again, you're right about how it's supposed to be like in Guy Pearce's headspace. And, but like, if you look at like the Wikipedia summary for this movie, it's straightforward. The movie kind of makes some sense. And we can talk about the ambiguity of the movie, like, to the end of days. But like when it comes to like, the pure plot stuff, and I think that's what kind of why the movie kind of really took off too, because like the cult following is a lot of people who like people would watch Memento and thought it was confusing because you feel confused watching it. But then the people who got it on DVD and rewatched it, they can completely understand it, and they're showing off to like their friends like, oh, I totally understand Memento, and like you got to watch it with me again, like I can explain it to you. And
Oh, this is like a top tier mansplain movie. We're like, oh, babe, you didn't get Memento first watch. Like, here, watch it again. Here's what goes down this time.
yeah, and same thing with Inception. I think that Inception is
Yeah.
a great example of like, Inception makes complete like, uh, ambiguous ending aside, like from a narrative standpoint, every scene in the movie is exposition. Every bit of dialogue is then explaining exactly what's happening. It's trying to keep you along, and that's what I think makes Inception work very well. Is that it completely tells you what it's doing every step of the way, so the audience is never truly lost. And I've never gone back and rewatched Tenet, but like I feel like the movies where Nolan does all the timey-wimey stuff, those have the biggest cult followings of all his movies because it has people who like to explain to their
You feel,
friends that felt like
yeah.
disoriented going into it. Because like I feel like what's interesting about Nolan movies, and like it's why I will always see Nolan movies opening weekend, the biggest format possible, is that no one else gets to make movies like Christopher Nolan does, where it's kind of a big budget, original, semi-original movie with the budget he has, the stars he has, and he's able to kind of his fascination with time makes these movies kind of unique in a sense that you're never like what Christopher Nolan movie is going to completely be, and but also it's kind of disoriented, right? Even Oppenheimer's disoriented in how it's doing the black and white sequence. You don't really understand like why there's going to be peppered throughout the movie. I think the movie does it incredibly well because like
Yeah.
otherwise it's going to be a very very boring 3-hour biopic. Instead, you know it's a well structured 3-hour biopic, which is like I think really fascinating. But I think the cult of Nolan, especially developed in the 2000s, was like you have the people explaining things, people who were just kind of people do not like to feel negative feelings a lot when watching movies. People like to feel sad points, but like confused is something that people don't really like to feel too much. And like I'm a big huge fan of David Lynch, and a lot of his movies feel kind of confusing, but I kind of like I'll let that wash over me. I like that a lot. But I feel like the way that Nolan movies work because they're kind of like a craftsman making like doing clockwork precision type things, they're solvable. They're like solvable in the sense that structurally they do make sense. You just have to kind of like have your mind in the right place while watching the movie. And
It
sometimes
makes
you
people
will
feel
need,
smart while watching it.
yeah, and sometimes
Essentially. Yeah.
sometimes you will need a friend to help you. Like okay, so this one segment was subjective, this one section was not. The black and white segment was actually near the end of the movie. Like when we lay everything out on the table, the black and white segment is actually at the end of the movie, not the beginning. Like sometimes you need someone just to kind of guide you through it because like we're so used to how narrative structures work and like the most how a rom-com structure like exactly like a rom-com, right? And that's what people are used to. And sometimes you're just not used to a movie like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, like when you bring up Tenet. I mean, like we have people like even our guest that's coming on next week, Sean, and we know you're listening. He's like
Mhm.
so excited to like I'm gonna like guide you through Tenet, and you're gonna like go find out like what's going on.
Yeah.
And,
I do want to
but
rewatch it before the Odyssey.
yeah, I'm excited to rewatch that because on first watch, what the fuck did I watch?
Mm.
Essentially, is
Yeah.
how I felt about Tenet. But yeah, there's that point of him where like Memento, I feel like isn't like on this like confusing level of like I said like Primer or anything like that. So I think that like at
I
the end
haven't
of the
seen
day, I
Primer
mean,
yet.
Primer is a movie that like you need the guidebook to, where you're like, what is going on here? Because it's a dialogue heavy sci-fi movie. I watched in college, and I don't think I was ready for it, and I don't know if
That's
I'm still ready for it.
that's how I feel about like JRPGs or something like that, where it's like I don't and I think Nolan movies do this better, but it's like been a criticism of that. Like I've tried it a couple of times, and it's just it's a thing. Actually, criticism I have of anime as a whole that it just doesn't work for me is because no, like I don't know if it's the translation from Japanese to American. Like I don't know if it's lost in that translation or something, but it is just people telling you everything that is
Mhm.
going on at every moment. Um,
Yeah.
and for me, I like it just makes my head hurt. Like I've never really felt that with like Christopher Nolan movies before. Maybe it's more of like the spectacle of everything. I wouldn't say it's animation for me. I do enjoy animated films, so I enjoy Miyazaki films. The so like
No,
I
I
would
you knew like the anime that's like I am the bad person because I'm gonna do this and 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 this is why I'm killing you and stuff like that. Like
uh,
you don't
I
I don't
can't do
need
it. I
the
can't.
over explanation type thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I just feel like at least for Christopher Nolan movies, like something like Inception, where it is really just it's a lot of exposition continually going on. Like I think a movie
what
where
a
it's like it's a dream within a dream within a dream, and it's all these layers. But he's also like he's not David Lynch. He's much more of like a capitalist like studio man. He's going to make his movies to make sure he makes money so he can continue making the movies versus someone like David Lynch has always just kind of operated outside of the studio system, sans Dune and Twin Peaks, like
He's the
the
famous
TV
guy who has
show.
that one quote where he will never explain what how a movie like what his movie means. He's like, I'm not interested in explaining what you just watch the movie.
Yeah,
and
tell
what's
me.
the thing? What's my most spiritual movie is Racer. Can you expand on that? No.
Yeah.
um, also, what a great pod take we have comparing anime to Christopher Nolan. I mean, bravo to me, bravo.
Yeah.
I listen. I've tried because people have been like, "Oh, Attack on Titan is no, it's so good, it's so good," and then I put it on, and I'm just like, "Oh my head is
Are we gonna
starting
have to
to."
have like an anime month? Like that's not Miyazaki. We watch like One Piece, like the fucking like fifth film or something like that.
I don't even know if we would be able to comprehend what's going on because you missed 10,000 episodes of a TV
That's
show. How are you?
that
Who has the time? Who has the
That's the
time?
thing.
That's
Like
my thing.
I used to be love anime when I was in like middle school and stuff like that. And like I saw like a few years ago, Hulu added One Piece, and I looked at the episode count after I watched the first episode. It said 600 episodes. I was like, well, I'm never gonna get around to this. Like that's too much.
Yeah.
Like I have a soft spot in my heart for Dragon Ball Z. Like I watched
Yeah, yeah.
Toonami as a child. Like I you know
Same.
like I have but it's not the I can't do it. But like I don't think for whatever reason with Nolan movies I think it is there is an experimentation within him with stuff that is usually studio movies and big budget where I was listening to a podcast on I think The Big Lebowski, and they were talking about how like why this is like I think it was Blank Check. I was 'cause Seth Rogen was on it. I was listening to it like a month or two ago,
Great
and they were
episode.
talking.
Yep.
Yeah,
I got
so
made an
it was great.
episode.
It was a great episode, and they were talking about how like yeah, the Coen brothers had their big hit, and they had Fargo, and then they cashed it in on something like The Big Lebowski, and the big reason for that is they want to be like the sixth or seventh film on the budget reel for the studio execs because when the movie is at the seventh or eighth level in terms of money invested, the studio guys are not around. They don't care. Like they're just like, oh,
Well, like
you're making your little $20 million movie. Okay, go have fun. We have to worry about our $150 million Batman movie that's being made
that's literally
because our
the lesson.
jobs are riding on this.
Yeah, that's the lesson Seth Rogen learned on Green Hornet, where he's like, I just don't want to be in that zone whatsoever. And like, it'd be interesting. I love some tweet I saw like years ago that was like, it would be great to have like a director, just like every so often why don't you go back to your roots and do a low budget movie? Like Peter Jackson, you've done the great Lord of the Rings movies. Let's go see you in the Frightener Zone or like in the Dead
Well,
Alive
he's
Zone
just kind
again.
of been doing his own thing like the past decade where he did that World War One documentary. Like he's just all about like preserving like old footage and just making narrative. He did the Get Back Beatles documentary. Like that is where his brain is. Like
But even like when
he
we
does
had
not
Sam Raimi,
he does not care about doing narratives at all anymore.
but we had like Sam Raimi doing like Drag Me to Hell after doing the Spider-Man movies. That rocked so much because it was like, here he is, like in the Evil Dead Zone again. Like it's so cool. If like,
Well, like
we had,
Send Help after
Yes.
Doctor Strange
Yeah,
2.
yeah.
Like
exactly. Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
did that was M. Night Shyamalan after was it after Earth? He did The Visit, which is extremely low budget movie because he started
That's really fun. Yeah.
he started self-financing his movies, and he realized that, like, hey, like if I have studio money, then like I feel like I'm just like it's not personal anymore. But if it's my own money, I feel scared. I feel like I have something to lose, and then I become more creative. And his run from The Visit to now is fascinating because like they're
It's yeah.
such stronger movies, and it is him going back to his low budget roots, which is really cool.
Yeah,
It'd be
it
cool to
is.
see if like after this, if after the Odyssey, if like Nolan like follows that up with like a straightforward detective thriller or something like that. You know,
You know, the
obviously a
thing
little
is,
more panache, but
I would want that of any other director, but I like the fact that Nolan is making $250 million movies that like and gets these big casts there because no one else gets the leeway that he does to make these movies. And I may not love his movies, but like I'm glad he exists to have these movies that actually make a shit ton of money out of their original ideas. Because like people are gonna go see the Odyssey in the theaters and be like, holy shit, I like going to the movies, and go see more movies.
yeah. But I mean, he is like probably what like top 3 director that people can name. If you ask like your average Joe Schmo on the street,
Spielberg. It's Spielberg. It's him. Maybe they can throw like a Hitchcock or like a
Tarantino.
yeah,
Tarantino's
Tarantino probably, yeah.
Yeah.
maybe a Scorsese in there.
He
Maybe a
is, like-
Stanley Kubrick because of The Shining. They're like, I love Stanley Kubrick movies, and it's like, what have you seen? I've seen The Shining,
Mhm.
and I tried 2001, but I couldn't get through it. And it's like, okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, but Nolan is definitely the director of this generation when it comes to pure name recognition. And I think it'd be silly to pretend he's not, because like he is like people will see the Odyssey. Like people are seeing the Odyssey because of Christopher Nolan, not because it has Zendaya or Lupita Nyong'o or Robert Pattinson or Tom Holland. They're seeing it
Matt
because
Damon in
it's a
the
Christopher Nolan
lead.
movie.
I mean, honestly, even for myself, like I do not like sword and sandals epics and stuff like that,
Same.
or like even ancient Greek stuff. But because it's Christopher Nolan, I'm like, well, I gotta see it, even though like it's
And
not a genre.
I spent like $30 on a ticket plus the gas money to drive 2 hours to go see it. Like,
yeah,
for a
yeah.
director I don't love, but like I like.
You need to see it, yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm going to see it in the largest format possible, because even something like Interstellar, which like I think has some clumsy visuals in that movie too, but at least like I'm going to see it on the big screen because like it's not going to feel the same at home.
It doesn't.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think for Memento, is there anything else that we feel like we haven't touched on at all? I thought the scene with the escort that he hired to come in and just spread his wife's stuff around and then kicked it out while he caught her doing cocaine in the bathroom just felt a little out of place to me in the movie.
It does, yeah.
If I had to snip 4 minutes out of this movie, those are the 4 minutes I'm like,
Yeah.
see ya.
I do love
It
Mark
felt
Boone
like
Jr.
Nolan trying to give character development to his guy that can't remember more than 5 minutes.
I do love the Mark Boone Jr. of it all, of him just playing like the scuzziest guy in the world. I mean, we talked about Dennis Franz last week on Blowout, and Mark Boone Jr. seems like the 2000s version of the Franz, where it's just like that guy was born out of a fucking pizza ball, essentially. Just like,
I think my favorite Christopher Nolan line in any movie ever is in The Batman Begins, when he's like playing the corrupt cop there, and he just steals the falafel from like the falafel guy. He's like, oh, please pay me. Like, my kids need to be fed. Like, wow, they don't like falafel. My favorite line in any Nolan movie ever. I think about it all the
It's
time.
incredible.
Like anytime, like, I see someone working a hot dog stand, I'm like, just feed your kid hot dogs. Like, I have to, like, pay you that
low
much.
key, low key might be the best performance in that movie, Mark Boone Jr.
It's
Just
a
right
great
in his zone.
performance, yeah.
Yeah.
That is such an underrated like bit. Like I just even remember seeing that in theaters in like 2005 and being like, I love this. Like, why isn't this guy in more? You know, like just give me more
Mhm.
of my scuzzy guys. I don't need
Yeah,
central cast. I do not need central casting. Give me more of these guys.
exactly, yeah.
Who's
I'm
the
trying to
Mark
think.
Boone Jr. of the 2000s or 2020s rather?
Do we
Paul
have one?
Walter Hauser.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right there. It's true. Yeah.
But kind of like things that Memento, I think we really touched on too, is like I really like the visuals of the tattoos, um, and the writing things down. I think that does a great job. It's great prop work, and I really like how especially the photo there too, because like the "Don't Believe His Lies" thing on the photo, like that is like what really, like brings the whole movie together. But it's a really really clever thing. I think about Memento, I always think of the tattoo work. Um, as like that's like the movie with the tattoos and how I sort of remember things. It's a clever way to get the character to learn things in a way.
It's a striking visual image.
Yeah, and we mentioned, like, joke about, like, is he gonna keep looking for that car over and over again? And maybe in the future, he just, like, strikes out that tattoo or something like that, so he won't look for that car anymore. And that's how he's able to that's the only way his character's ever gonna develop is via the tattoos. And I think that it's a really fast it's a great visual, and it looks so good in the black and white segments too, him doing the stuff with the pens and the inks and such.
It's fantastic. It's like probably one of the most striking images of this movie is just seeing him just like fully tatted up. And at one point, like it almost felt like one of his tattoos felt like fucking Jared Leto's the Joker, like he hate me or some bullshit.
Yeah. Damaged.
Exactly.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, guys. Who do you think gave the best performances? I feel like and I feel like this is akin to Nolan films. It's like we talked so much about like him and just like the movie itself and the narrative and all of this stuff, even though they're kind of straightforward, just the presentation of them are. We didn't really touch on like any performances really. So like for you guys, who did you feel like gave the best performances? Who do you want to shout out here in this section?
I'll start off. I want to shout out Carrie Ann Moss. I brought it up earlier, but like I think that this came as like an interesting point of her career. First of all, I mean, this was like her follow up to Matrix. I mean, she had like
Same with
pretty much
Same with Joe Pantalone too.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, literally both of them. I mean, that's how it happened. We're like Karen Moss was the first person cast in this movie, and then she pretty much brought on Joe Pantoliano after this. What's interesting when you think about Carrie Ann Moss's career, she started off like doing like TV shows. In fact, one of the TV shows she did was in 1993. She did 13 episodes on a show called Matrix, which is wild to think about. Yeah. And then she like was known for like she did the TV series for that movie called FX, the series, which was the Brian Dennehy like movie that made that into a TV show. And then she got Matrix as off to the races from there. And then like she follows up Matrix the next year. She does Chocolate, Red Planet, The Crew, which is a burnt round movie that's been forgotten to time, and Memento. And just like she is so fascinating in this movie. And like that one scene of her freaking out of just like being like the biggest bitch possible. And when she comes back inside, and she realizes immediately that she can take advantage of the fact that he just hit her and use that to her advantage to spin the story. Like, this is what happened because these are like her workings.
spin the narrative.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's
I
a really good
actually
piece of acting.
I found that to be the like once she entered the movie and then it was just like it's clear they have some sort of relationship where she's like, "You've helped me," and all of that kind of unwinding for me. I felt that was far more interesting than the idea of Guy Pearce like figuring out who killed his wife. Like I just found that narrative to just kind of be more engaging. Personally, I like as you said, Brian,
Yeah,
like definitely one of the
I,
stronger Nolan female characters we've ever had.
yeah, without a doubt. And like I think that like it just shows it's just like sometimes no one can write a good woman occasionally.
Brian, how about you?
I have to say Guy Pearce is like absolutely like this is like such an incredible performance from him. It's sad, it's funny. Um, you kind of get the confusion, and the fact that he doesn't always seem completely baffled all the time is a real strength of this movie because like you can imagine a version of like him just like having a breakdown for not remembering something, but like he's confident enough in what he's doing. Like the fact he's able to like drive around town, which is like kind of a funny bit of the movie is he's able just to drive despite having no memory at all. I take away
I
his
live in a
license.
diner.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't
In
worry.
the diner room, it's like, trust me, I need to write down this fucking directions.
Yeah. And I think it's just like a really interesting performance because like there's a real sadness to him too because he thinks he's on a revenge mission, and if he's not, and it's just him trying to forget something, it's still like just a really devastating look. And I like the even the black and white segments where he's as an insurance adjuster when he's like dealing with Steven Tobolowsky's and his wife there, and like I like him kind of being like a, you know, you're seeing him in like his kind of life beforehand, and is seeing him kind of be like, you know, he's not a total asshole, but he comes across as a dick. Like he's just like, you know, it's a physiological, it's a mental thing, not a physiological thing. So I have to deny your claim kind of thing. It's just like, you know, I'm just doing my job kind of thing. So you kind of like, oh, okay, this guy's kind of like relatively cold, kind of calculating beforehand, before he's even like had stuff happen with him. But like, you know, it's a clever performance, and Guy Pearce is one of those actors I always like seeing him. I kind of wish he popped off a lot more as an actor, and like it was great seeing him in The Brutalist again, and a great and really meaty performance. And but yeah, he's an actor that like I really wish kind of like this movie should launch in the stratosphere. Apparently, he had issues with one of the producers had an issue with him, so that's why he never came back for a Nolan movie. But
Really? Yeah.
it's a great mix, and I think that as a Nolan protagonist, he does a great job.
He's really captivating in this movie, and like, you know, if the central guy doesn't work, then you don't care about this. Where it's just
This
like,
movie would not work. The central guy was not as didn't have the look, the swagger, the puppy dog eyes that Guy Pearce has.
It's interesting for us around the pod because last week we covered, or last month we covered L.A. Confidential, which was like his big breakout, and just seeing like the evolution of Guy Pearce, especially in his early career, is just like really fascinating. And you can see, like you said, this guy should have been like a bigger star because like after Memento, it took him 2 years to his next movie, where he had like 4 movies in that year, but like none of them are movies that I think of or like have really ever thought of before or heard in the pop culture lexicon. And it's really disappointing. It's not until like maybe like until he gets to the Hurt Locker and like The Road that he really pops off again. So it's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had an interesting career. Guy Pearce, I loved him in The Brutalist. I preferred his performance to Adrian Brody's personally. Granted, it's not a movie I'm dying to go rewatch, but I really
Same
like.
here.
still haven't seen it.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
It's
tough
good.
with 4-hour movies. Although I will say I have booked tickets with some friends.
I remember.
Oh,
I
thank you.
I remember. Oh, sorry. You go. Yeah.
I was just saying I booked tickets to go see Lawrence of Arabia in theaters.
Oh, jealous.
That's
So
gonna be sick.
That movie's
So
so
I'm not
good.
opposed. I'm not opposed to 4-hour epics.
When I saw
I remember.
sorry, I was gonna with The Brutalist. I saw The Brutalist in IMAX, and when the movie started off, there was no visuals, just sound. So I went and flagged down a manager of the theater there. They came in. It took them half an hour for the movie to start up again.
God.
So
Jesus.
The Brutalist with the intermission there became like a 4.5 hour trip to the movie theater.
God.
But I used the free voucher I got, you know, and I used it on the most expensive movie ticket I possibly could, just because like that's how the math I did in my mind. So I used that ticket to get a free voucher to see Thunderbolts in 3D IMAX.
Nice.
Of course.
Which is
Yeah,
like
that's what you
what a
gotta do it
waste!
for.
What a waste of the format.
Should have saved it for the IMAX 70mm.
It was going to expire.
It's gonna. Okay, yeah. Oh, so you've just been holding on to this ticket. You're just like,
yeah. What's the most expensive movie I can possibly see?
Yeah,
Throw
of
math,
course.
I get it.
So we gotta go for it. I remember I almost saw The Brutalist in theaters, but I was gonna book a screening for it on my birthday, and then I looked up what the movie was, and I was like, I don't think I want to experience that movie on my birthday. Like that sounds like a bad time.
You would have hated The Brutalist. Like I just know everything in your core is you would have hated that movie. So
you know what I watched instead that night? I did a double feature at my house of Superman and the Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
That's so much more.
So much better. Yeah, so much more. I was like, yeah, this is what I need. Yeah, I was like, oh, a 4-hour epic about a guy who's like a Holocaust survivor making the architecture scene. I don't think that's my birthday movie.
Not for nothing. Brutalist architecture style, not my favorite. Not my favorite by a mile.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Okay, so we usually phrase this question as, would this movie work as a Muppet adaptation? I think this question is better phrased as, what Muppet character do you want to see have retrograde amnesia? That is
Um,
really the
that feels like a
the
layup for Fozzie.
We're singing Fozzie too.
Yeah. Just waka waka waka. He forgets his punchline
think about
mid
Gonzo
joke.
though. Think about Gonzo just like like not aware of his injuries, shooting out of cannons and all of his daredevil acts, because he can't remember what he did. And like Gonzo with just like a bunch of tattoos and him just being like,
It was the
look away
stretched out
from
arms
cannon.
looking for even more tattoos.
Tattoos,
It's all
Yeah.
flaky.
Like I think there's something there with
I don't
Gonzo.
believe his lies.
I feel like
Do you keep Joey Pants as the one human in this?
Keith Tobolowsky, man. Come on, that guy looks like a Muppet.
True, that's true.
Miss Piggy as Carrie Ann Moss.
Yeah.
Oh,
Piggy
her
in a
just going
film.
off, being like, "You're not gonna remember any of this." Hi-ya!
Sweetums as Mark Boone Jr.
Yeah,
Of course.
Okay.
Kermit the
Layup.
Frog as the boyfriend. Keith
See, I
Renee's
think
character.
Kermit the Frog is Joe Pantalone because you think you're supposed to trust him, but you don't the entire time. Like I just feel like that'd be a nice twist for Kermit. Like it's a little out of his comfort zone, a little out of what we expect from him. But I feel like
Give
there's
him,
a movie
give
there
him the
for
mole,
it.
so he's Constantine, the evil Kermit.
Yes,
Yeah.
Perfect.
There, Brian, that's perfect. That is perfect.
Bravo.
All right, guys. Review time. Give me your score out of 5. Brian, why don't you kick us off?
I gave 3.5 stars out of 5. I think it's a good movie. I think it's one of Nolan's better movies. I think it's more interesting when you're watching it to think about the structure than it is to actually watch the movie and let it wash over you. I think it's a movie that is more. I think it's more fascinating to think about. Like it's a movie when I look back on it, like it's not a movie that like I reflect upon, like, oh, I love the movie so much. But when I watch, I'm like, oh, this is clever and it's cool that he was able to pull this off. I think the timey-wimey stuff he does in Dunkirk and Oppenheimer is a lot more interesting than the timey-wimey stuff he does here. But like, this is a movie that has a lot of imitators. Most of them are not nearly as interesting. The women roles really pissed me off a lot, but that's with every Nolan movie, so it's kind of a given. But great Guy Pearce performance. It has some really funny moments to it. Really cleverly edited. Has some good music to it too. I forgot how good the music is in this movie.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good shout out there. Tommy, how about you?
I'm gonna echo Brian's thoughts. I think 3.5 out of 5. I think this is a good Nolan movie, but like we said earlier, there is a little bit of pacing problems. And when you get to a point where like you pause a movie and like you think you're like pretty much done, and you see you have another hour left, it's sometimes can be a little brutal. And in this case, yeah, I was like, I was still captivated. I think it was really good performances all across the board. But like, I think that like there's something with like in terms of like the style or like the pacing, where like it lost me a little bit there within there. So 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I think I'm at a 3 out of 5. I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't want to say I was disappointed by this movie. I feel like if I watched this movie at 20, like this would have like shattered my brain. But I feel like now having watched enough movies in my life to be like realistically what this is. So the pacing really got me when I hit that pause button and saw 37 minutes into the movie and I thought it had been at least an hour and a half. I was just like, oh no, like and it picks up
Because it's funny because if you were to watch the chronological cut of the movie, which like I think it's available on like archive.org or something like that, or the DVDs.
I think there's also YouTube cuts. Like there's people who've worked on it.
But the official cut of the movie that just like rearranges everything chronologically. The part that you're complaining about is truly that is like the hour mark of the movie. That is like the start of the third act kind of thing. It is
that's interesting. Then that like I'm noticing the third act ending, and I'm just being like, this feels so long.
Yeah,
and maybe like that's cool. Like because like I think it's really well edited, which is so interesting because I usually find like poor editing and poor pacing kind of tend to go hand in hand. And it's not like this movie's it's what, hour 55 or something like that. It's not crazy in its length.
Yeah.
I did feel the length though.
Yeah,
He came, yeah.
which is a problem. There's just like little moments that I personally didn't need. It's an interesting Nolan dead wife cliche, I guess. Like, if you saw this in 2001 and you didn't realize, like, oh no, this guy really, like, he's dying the same time his wife dies. Like we know this now. Like when his wife goes on, Christopher Nolan will, like the story of like the old married couple, like 55 years later, like one of them dies, the other one dies like 2 days later from a broken heart. Like that's gonna be
Mhm.
Christopher Nolan. Guy loves his
The G
wife.
the Gene Hackman story.
Yeah, it's a beautiful.
Well, that's a little different.
Let's
Yeah.
we're gonna hope for a happier. We don't need to worry about this for quite some time. But uh, like now that you know that that's a thing, like in every one of his movies, you go, oh, okay. Like I don't know if it was even used the best here out of all of them.
Well,
But I
Batman
think what was
Begins, there's the dead wife there with his mom, but it's funny that Bruce Wayne never actually gives a shit about his mom. It's always his dad and trying to disappoint his dad. Like, do you not care about upset, like, being a disappointment to your mother? Like,
No whatsoever. There has to be some like ranker AV club list out there of like ranking the Nolan dead wives.
yeah.
Watch
that feels like
Mojo
something
top 10. Welcome to
Top
Watch
10
Mojo.
Nolan
Nolan dead,
Nolan
dead wives.
I have not read The Odyssey. Does The Odyssey have a dead wife?
Imagine like that's the main
There's
reason I
sirens
want to do
and
it.
a cyclops. I know
Yeah.
that.
Well,
I might have to go
it
out
is
and get
him
the
trying
Odyssey
to get
tomorrow.
back to his
and
wife, right?
It is
Isn't that
about
the whole
returning
thing?
to his wife.
Right. Oh, Anne Hathaway's the wife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
right
okay,
there.
I'm
I mean,
not sure if she's
is
dead or
she
not,
dead?
but
Yeah,
Maybe
find
that's
out.
that. Maybe that's that's the Nolan twist on the Odyssey. Is it's just Anne Hathaway on a
She's
table and the top spinning, and it's just
yeah.
her head spinning around like
she's
Hitmontop, just like just
she
we're gonna find out at some point if it's if that's
throughout the
you know
movie. It's just Matt Damon having flashbacks to his wife talking about and like reminiscing on the great times they had together, and like
It
now I'm dead.
it turns out that Matt Damon was injecting too much insulin to Anne Hathaway.
I remember enjoying it in Inception more, but granted, I don't think I've seen that since like maybe freshman year of college, sophomore year of college.
Yeah,
I feel like I
I never
watched
rewatched
the
it.
I feel like
bad
I
dead
feel like
wife.
I feel like I watched the crap out of that like late high school, like into being like, oh, this is one of the greatest things ever. And then there just came a point where it's like, I've seen this enough. Like, I think I'm good on this
Yeah.
movie for the time
Yeah.
being.
Mhm.
So I guess I need to do it. I think I enjoyed that one more because it just, I don't know, but yeah, the trope just didn't hit for me. But
I did have to
sorry,
Google
3 out
right
of
now
5.
because I did a Google right now because I didn't remember. Is there a dead wife in Tenet? And it said no. There actually is no dead wife in Tenet. So
That's good.
That one has the really bad Elizabeth Debicki's character with the worst dialogue in the world, where like with like because Kenneth Branagh's like, I'm gonna destroy all of existence. And she's like, does that mean my son will die too? Well, yeah, like no shit, woman. Like that's
Well,
what
I
all
haven't
existence means.
I haven't seen Tenet yet. I can't.
spoilers, a slight spoiler.
Spoiler, I have to watch it soon. I guess I'm excited. I will have to see if any movie theater by me is showing it because I feel like I would just enjoy that more in a theater than I will at home. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, because
Tom.
no one saw it in theaters at the time.
I know
Well,
this about
He
myself.
made a huge stink of like, I'm releasing this movie right in the theater in the height of COVID, and
no one
nothing
can
You
stop
are gonna see it and you're gonna fucking like it, and if you don't, fuck you, because this
Yeah.
is Nolan time, baby.
Yeah.
He should have maybe like waited. He should have done Oppenheimer during COVID, and then people maybe would have went and saw it more in
Mhm.
theaters.
Or waited like 3 more months.
Yeah, just like wait until like April of 2021. You're fine, Nolan.
I don't know. That
Okay.
was still when they were in the period of like releasing like when they were cross-releasing those movies on HBO Max at the same time. Like nobody was going. Like, why would you go to the theater?
Remember
You
we went to our
here.
friend's house and saw like Godzilla versus Kong, and we were
Ugh.
drunk as fuck. And I the only thing I remember is just like we were like, let's see that fucking giant monkey beat the shit out of that fucking lizard, that fucking piece of shit lizard.
America versus Japan, baby. The great anime debate rages on. But all right. 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5 for Tommy and Brian. We'd all say go watch it if you haven't seen it. Maybe revisit it if you're getting a little Nolan tingling before the Odyssey, if it's been a while for you. Brian, thank you so much for coming on, host of the Movie Pod. Can you tell the people a little bit more about your podcast, where they can go find you?
Yeah, so Movie Pod Reclams on a podcast. I host it by myself. I have a guest on each week to talk about a film that's had a change reception as time's gone on. I've had Tommy and Tim on before talk about the original, first Mortal Kombat movie directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, and how that
Oh
movie
yeah.
was critically derided, made a lot of money though. First video game movie to make money. And as time went on, people kind of like, hey, this is actually kind of a fun movie that kind of captures the tone of the video game series. So movies kind of like that, where sometimes this one's like that, where it's got a horrible reception when it came out. I've done stuff like It's a Wonderful Life that started off its life as a, you know, it only became people started considering a Christmas movie only in the 70s after it got TV reruns. Um, I just did an episode on Jackass the movie and how like the Jackass franchise kind of got a bit of critical reclamation project because people kind of realized like, hey, this movie is actually about male friendship. These movies are about male friendship more than they are just about gross out stunts. Even though the movie's structures have not changed, people's viewpoints on the movies have changed over time. So yeah, I have episodes coming out every Tuesday, and not sure when next week's episode is going to be yet, but actually, I think next week's episode will be a quick bonus episode about the first half of 2026, just the movies that came out this year. But yeah, you can find me on find it on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram and YouTube. I'm available wherever you get podcasts as well. You can also follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at B Wishart. I also do some comedy writing over at GG Tribune and the Hollywood Times. Do some satire writing over there, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. Go give Brian
Yeah.
a follow. Great Twitter follow. You'll see us engaging with him from time to time. Um, Tommy, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on social media at Seen It Pod, Seen It like the way we spell on our podcast. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're also on Blue Sky at podseenit.bluesky.social. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps grow the show. And check us out on YouTube too. Haven't seen it on YouTube. Full video on YouTube. So new wrinkle to the podcast right there. So you can see us in our glory. And yeah,
We're
so we're
handsome.
continuing. Yeah, we're really handsome. We try. You can check us out for our Christopher Nolan month. It's going to continue. We're going to be covering Tenet next week with special guest film school dad returning to the pod after LA Confidential last month. So it's going to be a fun one. Check us out then.
Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next week.
And now the loop is closed.